Well, to my surprise, when I was driving over here, I thought I was giving a presentation to about 50 people. So this is absolutely amazing, and this is great. Thank you for inviting me here. My name's Kirk Suscella. I'm actually the director for data science and innovation for FPL. In my previous role, I was implementing generative AI solutions for the past 3 years. So once I moved into this new role, I was looking at, what are we going to do from an innovation data science perspective, looking at the tech radar. And when it came to quantum, I kind of was looking at it the same way that probably the public has looked at this, that it's, I think the buzz or the trend is 3 to 5 years, and it's very error prone. And so that's kind of where that started. I also had, personally, a misperception that, coming from a data science perspective, that you could just take a bunch of data, you could throw it against it, and you're going to get really awesome results. And so I think, between those two, the aha moment for me with quantum and how we've been starting to approach it was looking at it from, okay, you can leverage this from a optimization strategy. You can leverage it from an equation-based approach. And that gave me at least a small window into saying, okay, this is where we can start, and we can start to learn and kind of build this out as a strategy for FPL. So before I dive into a little bit of the strategy that we've been working on, at FPL, we've been a very innovative company. We're always looking for the latest types of technologies that we can implement to help our customers and our business. And a lot of that comes into a strategy of investing in very fast approaches. So looking at something, not putting a lot of investment into it, fail fast, learn, adapt, grow, and those types of things. And so we're looking at taking a very similar approach from the quantum perspective, and also taking from our playbook on generative AI. So there was 3 things in generative AI that really helped us in our journey in that, and that was building literacy in the company, so looking at that from a quantum perspective, implementing safely, so making sure that the solutions have proper guardrails, and then scaling strategically. So we're taking that kind of roadmap of looking at quantum as we're moving forward in this space. And so we've been looking at this from like a 2-tier perspective. So the first is I have a team of data scientists, and the data scientists have traditionally been, looking at historical data, building models, and solving problems. But they haven't really necessarily been looking at solving problems through equations. And so one of the things that we're doing is kind of going back to school and looking at, going back and looking at solving problems through equations using both classical, as I have another data scientist that's starting to experiment with the different types of technologies. One of the things that we're looking at is taking a use case that we had that's an optimization problem and trying to leverage quantum. Not necessarily looking at that problem to be able to solve anything between quantum and classical, but just want to get the learnings of how to take something that we've done, we solved it, and then be able to replicate that so that we could get a better familiarity with both the platforms and the software. And so that kind of approach with our data scientists has been really positive. One of the things they really love is they're very enthusiastic about learning. They're always wanting to learn, but getting into more of the quantum space, they're very excited about this opportunity. And so the other aspect of this with our data scientists is that we also are bringing in data scientists from the different universities through our data science programs. So we're looking at how we can feed the company with our data scientists that then would propagate quantum out to the different business units. Typically, we'll have data scientists work and mentor with our team for about a year, and then they'll go and find jobs within the different business units. So we're thinking of that as being able to get more of that competency or that literacy driven within the business. So as we're doing that learnings, the hope is that we'll start to have, we typically will do every month presentations, almost like a science fair based on the different problems that the data scientists are working on. And so my expectation is, as we're starting to work through that, they'll show it how they're doing it classically, and then if it fits, they can be able to show how it works through quantum as well. And again, it's just to start to build, demystify and start to build that muscle, if you will, and being able to leverage the tools and the techniques to solve problems. So that's what we're doing on the, I guess you could say, the bottom-up approach. And then the other aspect we're doing is a top-down approach. And so what we're starting to look at is how can we look at other businesses and how they're approaching quantum, how they're solving quantum, and then look at building briefs out or abstracts. Because again, like building the literacy, trying to go to my management team and to say, hey, we want to solve really hard problems. They're going to give me the hardest problems with the least amount of information to try to tackle that. And so I don't want to go down that path quite yet. I want to get some wins. We've experimented, my predecessors have experimented with quantum, but I actually want to show how quantum can be leveraged to solve business problems. So the goal is through that literacy, my thought is that if we could build out abstracts, that we can then go to the different business units and show them how we can solve the problems through, even the optimizational aspects. Then I can start to use that as like almost a Rosetta Stone to have a conversation. So they might not necessarily like my initial brief of what I'm looking at. I know that we talked about like storm restoration, right? Now, not saying that they won't like storm restoration, but just in terms of maybe there's another problem that's more pressing that they want to talk about, but can relate that through the brief. And so that's what we're doing right now, is going through and bringing those briefs out, going through the different business, and kind of getting out some of those use cases that now we could go into and start to explore. So we're looking at it from the kind of a bottom-up and a top-down approach in terms of how we can leverage quantum. And it feels very similar. We've mentioned, I think it's been mentioned several times. A lot of the excitement in quantum has been very similar to what I saw back in, was it 2017, 2018, where data scientists were saying, hey, there's this cool thing called NLP that we'd love to use and we'd love to implement as part of our solutions, and everybody kind of scratched their head, what is that? And now, it's everywhere. Obviously quantum has got a little bit of a different construct to that, but I think being able to solve problems in a very efficient and fast manner is definitely going to be an emerging use case that we're going to want to take advantage of for years to come. And so, I'm super excited about what we're seeing. Super excited about this conference. This is absolutely amazing, and I'm really excited to dive in both from the bottom up and top down in terms of how we're tackling quantum.